Hey everybody, Rob from Karma Comment Chameleon coming at you today with a couple of pro-revenge stories. First one, the unexpected revenge on the worst blackjack play ever. First, I'm a casino dealer and have been for over 15 years. Dealers take a lot of abuse from players. I've been insulted, degraded, and even followed after work, but it's nothing I couldn't handle. The general rule for player conduct in most casinos is as long as the player's betting enough money, they can do and say whatever they want. This is where we meet Jay, not real name. This guy was a piece of crap. He would cuss the dealers out, scream at them every hand, throw his cards. The first time I dealt to him, I tried telling him not to throw his cards at me when my floor stopped me and told me to never correct him and just deal with it. Even when he was winning, he would be a horrible jackass. And what was the worst was the lady that would come with him every week. She looked like a working girl, and the whole time she would sit there, silent, just watching, as he went off on the dealers. Every once in a while when he calmed down, he would give her a kiss. And when she left the table to use the bathroom, he would make very obscene comments about what he was going to do with her in the hotel after he cashed out. He was horrible, and I had to see him every Wednesday for years. Now, normally whenever I have a player like this, I look at their player's card, write down their name, and look them up online to see who they are and what they do for a living. The problem here was no one knew his name. He only ever wanted to be called Jay and didn't have a player's card. He never lost more than what was required to get his social security card, so he remained nameless for years. No one knew anything about him, not his profession or if he had kids. He wouldn't even talk about sports. He was a complete enigma. I made it a goal of mine to find out who this guy was, and after 2 years, I finally got my chance thanks to an unlikely encounter. Another player, Bob, whom I knew, had come to my game while Jay was playing. He sat down in the last seat, and while waiting to get in the game, we started chatting about the guy's new house. He knew I bought a house recently, so we were discussing projects we were planning on doing, when he mentioned he wanted to put a pool in his backyard. That's when Jay, in the nicest voice I've ever heard him speak, said, "Call me tomorrow and I will give you a quote," and handed him his business card. Now, Bob was very polite and took the card, but I could tell he had no intentions of calling. That's when the most miraculous of moments happened. They had both left the table at the same time, and Bob had left the business card on the table. I get tapped off the game to go on break and quickly grab the card. I now have the guy's name, business, email address, and his business address, which I first noticed because it's 2 hours away, and there are 2 closer casinos to his business. That night, I scoured the internet for any information on this guy. I had no idea what I was planning at the time. I could try to mess with his business, maybe email him pretending to be interested in his services, and have him drive to some random house. Ideas kept going through my head until I found the big bombshell about this guy. He was married, but not to the girl I keep seeing at the casino. I found his wife's Facebook page and started going through her history. They looked like a normal, happy couple. After a while, I figured out what was going on. She owned some businesses in another state and would fly out every Wednesday morning to handle the businesses, and he would drive 2 hours to a casino away from home so no one would recognize him. Very common in the industry. But the girl he was with, that was the big question. This is where the revenge comes in. I got his wife's email address off the internet. I had a friend of mine come into the casino and very discreetly take a picture of Jay every Wednesday for a month. He made sure to get both Jay and the woman he was with in every shot. The last Wednesday that the pictures were taken, I waited till Jay was getting ready to leave. As he was exiting the casino, I emailed the pictures to his wife from a throwaway email address. The next day, he came storming into the casino, demanding to know who contacted his wife. He made a huge scene and was visually raging. He made a bunch of threats to sue the casino and all the employees. He got so heated, he told one of the pit bosses to screw off or I'll kill you, which was enough to have him banned for life. Security had to detain him, and that was the last time we ever saw him. I kept tabs on his wife's Facebook. She had made a post explaining to everyone the reason she was divorcing Jay, and everything I had suspected was confirmed. He was hiding money from his wife and using it to gamble and pay for the working girl's rent. The wife had mentioned my email and even posted a thank you to the person who unveiled the truth. I wish I knew what happened after that, but I never saw Jay again. He's barred from the casino, and the last time I looked up his business, it said it was closed. Chances are he's playing in some other casino, making someone else's day horrible. That was such a great story, and I love how in return for trashing the OP doubled down on the revenge. On to our next story. Hit my car and try to get away? I'll track you down and make you pay double. So I never knew about this community until now, so I'm happy to share my story. This happened a few years ago. So my fiance at the time, now wife, were driving around looking for dresses for her bridesmaids to wear for the wedding. We had been going from place to place looking for something she liked, but no luck. We had just finished leaving David's Bridal and were leaving the plaza. It had been raining a lot, so the roads were slick. As I reached the intersection of where the plaza met the road to turn out, another car came turning in. Unfortunately, he didn't brake soon enough and skidded into the front end of the driver's side. Thankfully, everyone was okay. We got out of our cars and looked at the damage. His car, of course, was completely unharmed and mine had a minor dent. He looked about 45-ish and had his son in the car with him. We exchanged names and phone numbers. He let me know he was on the way to work, and I told him we were just wedding shopping. I was 22 at the time and very naive as to what to do in case of an accident. He told me that we both seemed pretty busy and that we should just handle it ourselves since we were both busy. We didn't call the police, my mistake, and he told me to get the damage looked at to see what it would cost. I took the car in 2 days later and they quoted me $1,100 for the bumper to be replaced. I texted him and he told me he will be getting scholarships in 2 months when he goes back to school and he would be able to pay me in cash then. I, again naively, told him that'd be fine. A week later, I followed up with him about another estimate I got, which was lower than the original, $900, but I got no response. I texted him again and again for the next few days and nothing. At this point, I realized he had bailed. I came up with a plan to find him. All I had was his name, a now useless phone number, and a general area of where he worked. I searched for him on Facebook and was pretty sure I found him. I searched under his family members and saw what looked to be like his son. My soon-to-be sister-in-law was 16 and looked about the same age as his son. I decided to go full sleuth and go undercover. I used her Facebook and changed her last name to match theirs. I then messaged the son and told him that I thought we might be cousins. I asked him some questions about his dad, like name and his job, and told him that my mom said I have an uncle down there by that name and worked at this guitar shop. He answered yes, that was his dad's name, and told me the name of the place where his dad worked. I was so relieved I was making progress. The next day, I drove back up near the accident and found where the man worked. I found his car and took pictures of his license plate. I then took all the info I had and went to the courthouse. I filled out paperwork and handed it to the clerk. The clerk told me they could either mail the form to his work address, or if I paid $25, I could have an officer hand deliver it. Of course I paid the $25 just to embarrass him at his place of work. A few weeks later, we were summoned to the court to see if we could work things out before going to an actual hearing. He showed up and we sat down with a mediator. She explained everything to all of us. I told him I didn't want to do this, but he stopped responding. He replied that his phone was stolen, so he had to get a new one. In my mind, a phone being stolen doesn't equal changing your phone number. I knew he was lying. The mediator asked him to step outside. She talked to us and told us not to trust him because his story didn't make sense. The mediator invited him back inside, and we read over the terms I listed in the court documents. He was to pay $2,400. I charged him the original replacement cost, gas from driving back and forth, my time for doing all this work, and extra just for being an a-hole. He said he would pay, but didn't like that I went to his job and took pictures of his car. I replied I didn't like that he hit my car. A few months later, he paid the full amount in cash and had to pay for our court costs as well. I sold the damaged car and took the cash he gave me to buy another car fully in cash. All in all, I benefited from it, but next time I'll just call the cops and save myself the headache. It sounds like OP learned a lesson that you really can't trust anyone, and if you get into an accident, you want the authorities involved so that that person is held accountable for their actions. I'm glad it worked out in the end for OP, but wouldn't it have been a little more funny if he'd found the wrong person? I want to thank all of the OPs for posting their stories to the ProRevenge subreddit. You can visit them at the links in the description below. Please go there and give them an upvote. Once again, this is Rob from Karma Comment Chameleon saying thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and share it with your friends. And we'll see you in the next one.